climate change. Can you get away from it? Every single thing you hear now is related to climate change. But you know, the climate's been changing ever since we've had the atmosphere, which goes back billions of years ago. You know, a lot of this has nothing to do with climate. It has to do with follow the money. Who's making money on all this? And then maybe you could see what really needs to be changed. Not the atmospheric climate, but the way we view economically climate. But there's another climate I want to talk about that really needs to be changed, because this climate is becoming extremely toxic, and it's really polluting us to the point where we are seeing death all around us. And what is that climate? That's the climate of spirituality in the world. One time, spirituality and religion flourished throughout not only just our country, but throughout the world. Climate of religion was essence to the people. Of course, the society was entirely different then. Most of the time, the early days, people were out in the fields. They were among the environmental climate. They had fresh air. They could see the sunrise. They were in touch with the planet. They know what soil felt like. And they had a freedom that we don't have today because of all of our modern and postmodern technology. And therefore, people were more attuned to the earth, to the sky, and to nature. And because of that, they would always go back to the God that created this nature. And they used to have the church bells ring at 7 and 12 and 6 at night so that the people out in the fields would know it was time to stop at least for a second or two to give adoration and praise to their God. But today, we live in a world that's doing everything it possibly can to get rid of spirituality. It doesn't have a place in today's world. Why? Because it's asking us to live a way that's counter to the values and expectations of this world. Because today's world has become so material. It has become so entrenched in the cyberspace, in being connected in an artificial way because of cell phones and internet. It's taken us away from who we are as humans. Yes, our climate has changed, and it's not for the good. What is our climate today showing us? Crime, sin, temptation, everything you can possibly think of that's evil. This is a monumental climate change. And now it's not a fight for clean air and fresh water. It's a fight for good versus evil. It's a fight against the devil taking over and the love of God. And it's up to us to make that choice. And like any choice, it's going to cost us something. The climate has to change because we are on our way to damnation. If we allow this continuation of materialism and hedonism and egotism and selfism and everything else, communism and everything else that's going on in our society, we are definitely doomed. And we need to change that. And there's only one way to change it, and that's if every single one of us does our job. You know, you can look at a beautiful lawn and say, oh, isn't that a gorgeous lawn? But it wouldn't be a gorgeous lawn if every single blade of grass didn't do its job. So that's how important you are. You can make a change, and you are important, and you can change this climate. We need to get back to our basics. Why are we here, and where are we going, and how are we going to get there? And we will only do that if we start to look at our own spiritual climate. What is in our climate that's polluting us, that's taking us away from the energy of perfection? It's basically, we have too many temptations in our life that we don't say no to. And again, that comes down to self-denial. We just can't keep giving in to every temptation and every enticement that comes into our life. Because when we do, then we become helpless to it. We've given in to the evil, and therefore we've become less a person. And when we deny ourselves little by little by little, what we're doing is we're emptying ourselves so that we could be filled. And the question is, what is it that you want to be filled with? Do you want your gas tank full of corruption and disinformation and greed and power and control? Or do you want your life filled with blessings and grace, joy, happiness, contentment, peace? And this only comes when you get rid of all that negative temptation that's in your life. And that only comes by saying no to it. It's not going to happen overnight. This is a process. Self-denial is a process. But every time you give up something that you want for something that you will be filled with a sense of freedom, because now you don't feel attached to that. And we all get attached, or we get possessive. We become hoarders. We always have to have more. But life will never be free until we get rid of all that stuff. And what we have to do is become aware, just like everybody's forcing us to become aware of environmental climate change. We have to be aware of the climate change of our soul. And how are we doing? Are we drowning in pollution? Or are we freeing ourselves to the love of God, who will change us and transform us and make us something perfect in His image and His likeness?